What to do in the face of this multidimensional tsunami? I've translated into English and Spanish the key parts of the article written by Mado Sauvé, The Singularity Decoded, How Artificial Intelligence is Taking Humanity by Storm, and What to Do in the Face of this Multidimensional Tsunami. tripletransformation.ca. 5. Why is this tsunami coming now? Fortunately, I have within me 14 years of reading the writings of Sri Aurobindo and Mother. Otherwise, I would have succumbed to an illness or an accident. I'm not the type to commit suicide, but a more noble death is quickly arranged at the subconscious level. When we reach the end of the conspiracy, when we see its breadth and depth, there's really a lot to be discouraged about, especially when day after day the dark and chemtrailed sky reminds us of the presence of the solar shield carrying control waves. At first, I was like, grrr. Now I smile. I even feel relieved, because I know that it is a reminder from the divine to tell me that the time of the great earthly transformation has come. Indeed, if the Asura of lies has such sudden ardor to control us, it is because he is aware of the awakening. His beautiful world of illusion is collapsing, at least on earth. So he struggles like the devil in holy water. However, his terrestrial kingdom has existed for billions of years, with ups and downs, mass extinctions of species, dinosaurs, destruction of civilizations, Atlantis, Lemuria, Mayas, geological disasters, reversals of the poles, floods, earthquakes, volcanic eruptions. He and his 3 companions always remained the great patrons of the earth, despite the underlying divine push which secretly forced changes in the most effective evolutionary direction to bring about, sooner or later, the deification of terrestrial matter. The divine is very, very patient. A quote from Supramental, Mother's dearest disciple, tells us a lot. It is for the same reason that materialism is collapsing in the West as spiritualism is collapsing in the East. It is the time of the new species. Man needs to wake up, not only from his demons, but from his gods. A new matter, yes. Like a new spirit, yes. Because we do not yet know one nor the other. This is the time when science, like spirituality, at the end of their course, must discover what matter really is. Because that is really where the spirit that we don't know is. Mother's agenda. A quick update on the situation. Let me succinctly summarize the situation that has plagued the earth since the beginning of the 20th century. I base myself here largely on what I learned in the books of Sri Aurobindo and Mother, because that is where I found the explanations that spoke to me the most, internally. With them, everything takes on a new meaning. 1. 1910. This is the year when Sri Aurobindo began to bring down the supramental vibration into the matter of his body. As all earthly matter is one, this had an impactful effect on our planet. This invisible work, nevertheless, went unnoticed by humanity. but not by the Asuric controllers we spoke of above. 2. 1914 to 1918. The First World War was organized by the great Asuras with the help of Germanic forces to stop the Supramental Tsunami. Thanks to the superhuman efforts of the Allies and the divine forces that assisted them, their action was aborted. 3. 1939 to 1945. The Second World War took place for the same reason and with almost the same actors. The Asura of Lies directly guided Hitler, a gifted medium and great follower of occultism, appearing to him as a sparkling and powerful god. Once again, his efforts were narrowly stopped, and the work of earthly supramentalization could continue. Here is one passage, among others, dating from May 6, 1941, where Mother summarized the situation thus to the disciples of Sri Aurobindo's ashram. Remember that all of India then perceived the English as enemy invaders. It has become necessary to declare categorically and clearly that all those whose thoughts and hopes support and call for the victory of the Nazis are thereby collaborating with the Asura against the divine and participating in the victory of the Asura. Narayana Prasad, Life in Sri Aurobindo Ashram. The Allies won. Sri Aurobindo and Mother were able to continue their invisible work. 4. 1945 to 1950. Sri Aurobindo continued his work of supramental descent into the densest matter, the unconscious. His terminology is very different from that of Freud or Jung. According to Sri Aurobindo, this unconsciousness of matter is a sleepwalking consciousness, veiled, imprisoned, which contains all the latent powers of the Spirit, the hour of God. This work became so arduous that he decided to withdraw into the subtle physical to finish the work with Mother, in her physical body, which then became the place of battle. This is why he chose to die in 1950. 5. 1950 to 1956. With his invisible help, Mother continued this work of descent relentlessly and announced on February 29, 1956, that the first supramental manifestation in the Earth's atmosphere had taken place that evening. Only a few disciples were able to notice this. 6. 1956 to 1973. Mother worked in her body to infuse the supramental into the earthly matter. She explained the whole process to Supreme, who wrote it down and published his notes and recordings of Mother's voice in a series of 13 volumes forming Mother's Agenda. 7. 1973 to 2007. Supreme continued the work of Sri Aurobindo and Mother in his own body and recorded everything in numerous volumes. After Mother's death in 1973, or at least the cessation of vital signs, he received an important message from her which said, "No more obstacles. Nothing prevents." The supramental descent is therefore accomplished. All terrestrial matter is in full transformation. The conspiracy of the world controllers, guided by the Asura of Lies, and the remaining hostile forces represents the last gasps of a dying beast. In The Tragedy of the Earth, Supreme explains, monstrous forces are trying to take over the earth, as they seized Atlantis before. But they are ghosts. A child's cry would be enough to bring them down. But we need this cry, precisely this almighty cry. Our mechanical and irrefutable world is in ruins. One breath would be enough to collapse its facade. And this breath is there, new, formidable. It is only waiting for men to take advantage of what they are and of the forces that they embody, of death, which is in the process of swallowing them, or of life, which seeks to be born. But that this entire artificial system will be swallowed up, there is no doubt. This awaits the survivors. Supramental, vibrational world that has always existed and whose frequency is greater than that of the known mental and spiritual worlds. It is the world of truth that can be reached with great difficulty because it requires the complete dissolution of the ego. The supramental joins in two ways, far above the head and deep within ourselves. Indeed, it exists in latency at the bottom of matter and is currently seeking to express itself completely there. Sri Aurobindo was the first to bring it down into his body from the worlds of the upper hemisphere. Mother then continued the work. However, in my opinion, technological and occult knowledge is not enough. I've noticed in studying conspiracy all these years that truth seekers mostly focus on the problem. Artificial intelligence, global controllers, demons, etc. They spend their time studying the dark side of the matter, which keeps them angry, helpless, in hatred, and wanting revenge. These low vibrations greatly facilitate the influence of the hostile forces. As long as we have not accepted that everything is part of the divine game, we end up dying of fear, even when we know all the twists and turns of how current earthly hell works. So, what should we do when we realize that society is in complete dissolution? First of all, and despite what I have just said, we must make some effort to understand the basis of what is currently happening. The purpose of this article is precisely to inform you of the important points of current techno-magical control of humanity. Those who have not grasped this point will soon be overwhelmed by sneak attacks from the unseen worlds without even being aware of the problem. In spite of themselves, they will become the toys of hostile forces who use technology as an interdimensional slide. Then, we must accept that our intellectual mind cannot understand what is happening. It's too big, on too many fronts at once, and above all, it involves too many mysterious elements linked to invisible worlds. Knowing the interdimensional conspiracy in which we are immersed becomes a two-edged sword. We must know enough to accept that it is the end of the old world, but without spending most of our time learning ever more about what, in fact, is in the process of disappearing. We're all faced with a choice. Live within the mental framework, thoughts, beliefs, proofs, laws, intelligence, understanding, reason, logic, with its compartmentalized, virtual, false, and lying universe, or leave the mind to move beyond, in the supramental, in a true and divine earthly life, in a living and omnipotent body. What do you choose? The real or the fake? What you're saying is ridiculous, you would say. There's no such choice. There is only one material life, and it is the one that surrounds us. And when we die, we leave. Phew! Indeed, for the mind, choosing divine life without dying seems a far-fetched option. It's that we just understand mentally, which amounts to saying that we haven't understood anything. Mental awareness is very limited. It cuts everything into pieces and pits them against each other. You, me, good, evil, virtue, sin, good, bad, God, devil, life, death. The current earthly situation forces us to rise higher in vibrational frequency, leaving the logical mind behind, keeping it silent and trusting the divine within us, our soul. By sincerely and fully giving ourselves to our soul, we move to the state of a confident child who discovers the world with enthusiasm and who has total faith in the perfection of all that exists. This complete surrender to the soul is more important than any explanation I can give you or any solution I try to suggest to you. In the years to come, it is not important to know whether NASA really went to the moon, whether the earth is hollow or solid, whether it is flat or spherical, whether Trump is better than Hillary, whether to invest in Bitcoin or not, whether there is really a base on Mars, whether North Korea will be responsible for starting World War III, whether Nibiru will create earthly chaos in 2018, or any other fashionable speculation. The human mind loves this kind of information, but the time spent responding to it cuts us off from the growing union with our soul. And that's the only thing that can save us. Are we going to get out of our state of mind addiction, proclaimed Supramental in The Tragedy of the Earth? But then, if we must leave the mind, the beliefs, religious and scientific, the 6 p.m. television news, the Quebec Journal, logic and reason, what can we rely on if we cannot hear this divine being who secretly inhabits us? Most people who have studied the New Ageist books, most recommended by alternative media, will tell you that, in effect, you have to silence the head to listen to the heart. The problem is that they say no to reason and only listen to their emotions. That is going down in vibration. It doesn't solve anything, but it's very pleasant for the body of desire. When we silence the mind, we must then concentrate very deeply behind the heart, where the seat of the true soul is located. Then we must have total faith in what we will discover there. I'm not talking about faith in an all-powerful external God whose recalcitrant children we are, although that way of seeing things has served humanity well for thousands of years. To take our next evolutionary step, the religion and spirituality of the past must now be thrown into the cosmic trash can. It is about touching a third physiological position which is neither materialist nor spiritualist, but which goes beyond both. Supreme, Mother's agenda. Sri Aurobindo and Mother opened the path to the supramental with machetes in their own bodies. The new supramental vibration beyond the mind is now available on Earth. Every minute it invades more and more of our body and our environment surreptitiously. This work began in 1910, developed in multiple stages, of which that of February 1956, see above, was only the important milestone among many, many others. The solution is already there, in matter, in our cells. Nothing can stop it, said the Mother. Without us realizing it, our body is learning to live a divine life on Earth. To push us there, it takes a lot of pitfalls, and so many bad wolves, and so many errors, or sometimes horrors, to force our own strength and invade our matter with a compact, homogeneous blaze powerful enough to break our limits. Supreme, the tragedy of the earth. Sri Aurobindo clearly explains the difference between the soul of desire, that of religions and most spiritualities, and the true soul, which he calls the psychic being. Most of the time, we mistake our life energy body for the soul, which leads to a lot of confusion. To help you find your way, I recommend my article, Ego, Friend or Foe. Giving yourself to your soul, letting it guide the transformation of our body, cannot be described in an article, but must be lived day by day. This is what I have been striving to do since I discovered the work accomplished by Sri Aurobindo and Mother. This pathless path involves the gradual dissolution of my ego. Not easy, but it's coming gradually, both for me and for others who strive to do it in all sincerity. Our ability to say no to the ego automatically leads to the ability to say no to artificial intelligence and the opposing forces hiding behind it. The more we give ourselves to our soul, the more we dedicate ourselves to establishing the divine in ourselves, in our mental body, thoughts, our vital body, energy, emotions, our physical body, subtle and material. The more the resistance to these forces of chaos and confusion will become effective. Saying no to a stubborn, egotistical personality or to an insistent demon is very similar. You get used to it and you become very efficient. Christians and Muslims speak of an imminent apocalypse. Many even claim that we are right in it. The first warns us that the earth will be invaded by demons, and the second by jinns. Like them, I feel that this apocalypse has begun and that it will increase. And it seems that the role of artificial intelligence is to accelerate this process by amplifying the access and power of anti-divine forces over human beings. However, the explanations provided in religious texts about the end times are not complete. The words from Mother opened up a new horizon for me on this subject. Some prophets of the past had this apocalyptic vision, but as usual, things were mixed up, and they did not have, at the same time as their vision of the apocalypse, the vision of the supramental world, which will come to uplift the willing part of humanity and transform the physical world. Mother's agenda. The goal of earthly evolution is not a great apocalypse that destroys everything, while the good guys ascend to heaven and the bad guys are thrown into hell for eternity. What petty god would want to plan such an unjust and cruel end? Evolution is always improving, even if it works in a spiral and not in cycles. Moreover, this evolution is threefold. 1. The evolution of species. 2. The evolution of souls. And that which most inure, 3. The evolution of the divine in matter. The first two are tools which allow the arrival of the third. Creating divine matter has always been the sole goal of the entire earthly adventure since its beginnings. Knowledge allows us to act knowingly. I remind you again of the article written on this subject, Ego, Friend or Foe. It will be able to give you some clues to start this big job. It's difficult at first, especially when you feel alone on the journey. But know that there are thousands of us, soon millions, working hard on it. Not only is it possible, but it is the only solution. The article, A Triple Evolution, that I recently wrote, can tell you more on this subject. Therefore, before complaining about these anti-divine forces, which Sri Aurobindo and Mother called the adverse or hostile forces, we would do well to consider these words of the Mother. When the world is ready to receive the new creation, the adverse forces will disappear. But as long as the world needs to be tempted, worked, churned to prepare itself, the opposing forces will be there to be the temptation, and that which knocks, that which pushes, that which keeps you from falling asleep, that which compels you to be absolutely sincere. A being who is absolutely sincere becomes the master of the opposing forces. But as long as there is selfishness or pride or even bad will in a being, he will always be the object of temptation, of attack, and he will be completely subjected to this constant conflict with that which, under the appearance of hostile beings, works in spite of itself in the divine work. Interviews, 1955. Now, when I leave the house and admire the chemtrails, smart meters, telecommunication towers, and people hypnotized by their smartphones and TV screens, I thank the divine for providing me with such blatant warnings. Thank you to the Asura of lies for doing its job so diligently to call me to order with all this technology which ensures the almost complete power of the artificial intelligence on the population. Those who are not ready to attempt the great adventure of divine life on earth are being gently zombified, and they notice nothing. Those who are aware of the situation and who suffer because of it have the choice of which side they favor at each moment, the lying past or the divine future. We still need to understand what is happening and accept the great challenge of trusting the divine within. Only the divine can guide us in the current techno-magical storm. When you become discouraged, when you feel that all is lost and you cry out like Jesus on the cross, my God, why have you forsaken me?" remember God's response. The Supreme Lord replies that the comedy is not fully played, and he adds, "Wait for the last act. You will undoubtedly change your mind." The Mother's Agenda. Mado Sauvé, January 2018. Email info@tripletransformation.ca. Website tripletransformation.ca/FR. Infinite love. Let's rejoice, because the absurd insanity we are experiencing is forcing more and more people to awaken. However, we must have compassion for those who are incapable of awakening, because the injections have created a separation from the individual soul. The only way out of the matrix is absolute non-compliance. The CBDCs will make it impossible to function in the system. I'm not interested in survival, which leads to inevitable death. I choose to live at all costs. I'm absolutely certain that the courageous ones must choose to get out of the matrix completely by November 2023. Please view the many videos I created on the time wave spirals. I was blessed because my jail experience forced me to leave Canada and what appeared to be a perfect life as a very successful dentist and mother of 2 wonderful children. One needs great courage to jump into the complete unknown, but it is an absolute necessity in this evolutionary crisis. Today, I'm in a position to assist individuals who choose life. Just 2 kilometers from our farm, I discovered a small development. One can purchase a lot of 1,000 meters square and a 3-bedroom house for $60,000 US at today's rate of exchange. While your home is under construction, you can start developing the agriculture of Sacha Inchi nut, avocados, pineapple, yucca, papaya, bananas, citrus fruit, and a vegetable garden. One can raise chickens and other small animals. A long-term stay at Cascata Cafe Retiro is $300 US per month. I also offer dentistry, including complex full-mouth reconstruction at a cost of 35% of European and North American prices. The global prison planet is being dismantled, and we have the honor of witnessing this. I conclude by encouraging you to continue your inner evolution despite the current world scenario, which can seem worrying when we forget that the divine is behind everything and that the supramental world is at our doorstep. Please share my videos. Infinite love.